I'm black to play, right? In this.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I would say maybe we have to maybe somehow we have to keep that white knight passive
Mm-hmm.
after he takes on b7, we take b4, then maybe try to I don't know if there's a way to trap it in necessarily right away, but I feel like if we can attempt it because if you look at this scenario,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know, knight b7, rook b4, knight c5, rook b5, knight. I mean, he has some trouble defending a5 after a knight move to rook b5, so we'll take on a6, I take back on a5, hitting the knight. Knight has to go to b4 maybe or something. Hmm. I don't see any other ideas. I think we have to go for trying to capture that pawn b4
Mm-hmm.
and
So rook b1, yeah?
try to basically keep that knight as inactive as possible, something like that, you know. Rook b1, knight takes rook b4. Okay, so if he goes back, then yeah, we have to take the other pawn now, I
Yes, rook
guess.
b5, yeah.
But he can no, he can't defend. He's not knight is hanging. So he's gonna take
I
on
think
a6, I guess, right?
I think this is actually the right way as well to play. So he will take and knight b4, yeah.
Okay. So we have a passed pawn
And now we and a strong
and
knight.
strong knight, yes. King is kind of getting cut off a little bit, right? F3 is taken away. So we also get a tempo on the knight right now in this immediate moment. And
Mhm.
then try to get the rook behind the pawn somehow, right? So ideally like pawn c4, rook c5, and tie his rook down defending our pawn. Start walking up the king. I wouldn't really trade knights here. Definitely. Uh I wouldn't trade rooks either, I don't think. Because I need my pieces to be able to drive this pawn home. And since I don't have pawns on both sides of the board, I don't know, maybe the rook. Would I trade rooks here? Let me think.
Yeah, so these are actually the important questions here. So let's get to the position where I wanted to ask you this. So this was rook b5,
Mm-hmm.
knight a2,
Oh,
king
wait.
e7.
Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Yeah, put the rook back. Okay. Uh, why didn't he just push the pawn? Why didn't he just do that?
I think it's mainly because he didn't want to give this active square, I guess.
Now c4.
C4, rook B2.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it's mainly like
Um,
just don't want to give some activity. I think that's the only reason.
and if I play f6,
F6, rook check,
king f7.
check.
Oh shoot, it's getting real. Um, let's say king g8.
I think some unnecessary counterplay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if it's working or not, but
I'm gonna attack at g7 next, I guess, right?
yeah,
And
I
the
mean,
five.
I'm just creating. I'm not sure if this is also good enough for white to hold, but it's kind of pointless, yeah, to allow so much as well.
Is it? Because I'm getting a very strong pawn. Rook c5.
Actually, here itself, I can play this.
Yeah, if you put the rook behind it, that's probably a good move. Yeah, because if I can get my rook behind it, then I have some chances. Because I mean, you can do a lot with the knight and the rook, but you're not checkmating me with those two pieces alone. And I have a pawn that's going home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
rook c7 kind of closes the deal on all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the only thing. If you can achieve something while restricting your opponent's pieces, why to allow some counterplay? Yeah? Because first of all, it's not easily, like you cannot calculate it so easily to till the
Yeah.
end. It's just like a genuine feeling, yeah, that active pieces will have more defensive chances than any other pieces.
Yeah.
So if the rook and knight, if we can push them back, I think it's much better. Like, sorry, like black did, yeah, with rook b5, knight a2, and king e7. So before you start pushing, and as you can see, there is no way white can stop it. Yeah, you can push the pawns actually. It's very easily coming. Like you can actually play knight rook b3 and c5, c4, c3 as well very quickly.
Interesting.
So you can just do that. So first, you are generally improvising your position. So this is what happened in the game, by the way. Knight c3, rook b3, knight d1. So as we discussed, yeah, that the pieces were completely passive for white, and black even played here g6. So prophylactic, just taking away all the squares, yeah, all the possible squares. This will eventually come. But
Hmm.
here, Rafi, I think you asked a very good question, yeah, that if I'm trading rooks or if I'm trading knights, so it's a very good thing. Usually, stronger players also make this assumption that if in this position I'm entering a knight endgame, is it winning? If I'm entering a rook endgame, is it winning? So here, the question is, what sort of endgames we can think of which are favorable for us?
Well, I definitely know for sure that in most of these cases, trading the knights is not a good idea,
Very good.
right? That rook, especially if that rook can somehow get active, I don't know, if a whole bunch of pawns get exchanged, I think it might be tricky. So I'd probably try to
Mhm.
keep the rooks on the board. Um, or sorry, the knights on the board. What am I saying? Yeah, yeah. I'll try to keep
Yeah.
the rooks on the board.
Mhm.
Um, did I just say that the backwards? I'm trying to say that I will not trade the
Trade the
knights.
knights. Eh? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got it. Mhm.
And I don't really see any reason to trade any pieces because look, both of my pieces are better than his pieces. Both
Mhm.
of my pieces are helping my pawn. They're close to my passed pawn. The knight is close enough to give checks and forks and still help the pawn. The rook is very nicely cutting off the king and keeping those g3 and h3 under attack all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So my king is free to enter. His king is going to be way more difficult to enter, right? He has to swing all the way to the other side of the board than those other guys. H and G pawns are a problem. So in this position, like you said, I don't really have any reason to hurry or anything like that. Knight takes away
Yeah.
that d7 square 3 point. So I will just slowly walk my king all the way to like the b file or something like that, right? And then just help push the pawn. So I would just continue improving my king.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
Like
actually, it's
king d6.
I mean, actually, it's correct. So here is very interesting part that you should not be exchanging the knights. That's pretty much the worst decision you can actually take here, because
Yes.
in a rook and pawn endgame, one pawn up is good, but it's sometimes not enough to win.
Yeah.
So in this position, apart from that, you can go for any other endgame and the position will be fine.
Yeah.
So here, after knight e3, this decision by black, yeah. So black can win this in many ways, but black played rook b4, knight d1, rook d4. So far it's okay. And now all black has to do is start pushing, yeah? Like the knight is defending this pawn, everything else is taken care of. Now you can
Mhm.
actually just push the pawn. So maybe get the king to d6 and push c5, c4, yeah?
Yep.
And that should be easy enough. Like you actually don't even have to think of exchanging and stuff. But here, black
Yeah.
all of a sudden played knight c4.
Mm. Why?
So this actually was the mistake.
Why did he play that?
Not sure.
Mm.
I mean, it's like a general feeling, yeah, that you are up a pawn. So whenever you're getting a chance, just exchange the pieces. So here, actually, knight c4 is a forcing trade because the knight cannot go anywhere. And if you come knight a4, black is just going to play knight d6 and threaten everything.
Maybe he thought that his king is already kind of close. He'll get the king all the way up, and the white king surely has to come and help, and he'll try to win those other two
Possible,
pawns. But the
possible.
problem here is that black's pawns on G file are doubled. If they
Yeah, and the
weren't doubled, if he had a pawn on H
f5.
file, maybe this makes some sense, right?
I think actually I think that the bigger problem is the F file is open, yeah. So the king cannot
Yeah,
freely go here
that
without
too.
giving up this pawn.
Hmm.
Because what happened in the game was, so white played king f3, knight b2, rook b2, and although this looks very simply winning, like it looks completely winning actually. Yeah, that I'm just
The
playing
king is
c5,
too
c4.
active. White king is so active now.
Yes, that's the problem. Yeah, that the king is too active. So white plays rook c2, king d6, and rook f2.
Yeah. He's just gonna eat up all those pawns, and then even you can't win the C pawn. He'll just sack the rook for the C pawn, and then he'll have
Exactly,
two pawns,
exactly the problem. So
power
that is
advanced pawns
exactly the
against the rook.
problem. Yes, so he can actually try to win all the pawns. I mean, if possible, and maybe even give up e4 or h3, something like that. And at the last moment, he will sacrifice the rook for the c pawn. Yeah, then because black's king will obviously have to go this side to make this pawn a queen. And white's king and pawn will generate enough counterplay on the king side to make it a draw.
Yeah.
Although black was very confident that this position is still winning for him. But let's see. So rook f2, c4, rook f7, c3.
Wow.
And okay, here we have a question. Yeah. So what do you think black should do here? I mean, white should do here, sorry.
White. Hmm.
So how to defend or how to try and defend this position from white?
Maybe white has to play rook f2, rook g2 or something. I don't know, and then take those
Very
other
nice,
pawns.
Ravi. Actually, that's the only and probably the easiest way to defend this position.
Hmm.
So this is very surprising. So white actually didn't even spot it. And funnily enough, black also had no idea that there is a defense like this. I think the best way is to play rook f to rook g2. Let's just check, yeah. So let's check rook f2. Yeah, you see, it's a draw.
Mhm.
So the idea is very simple. Yeah? Let him bring the king wherever he wants. I just put rook on
Yeah.
g2, take this, and push the pawns. Yeah, I will sacrifice my rook.
Right.
This pawn.
Yeah.
So rook f2, rook g2 is probably the easiest one. And I can just show you one thing. So the moment where knight b4 was played, yeah. So I guess it was somewhere here. So this position, right? So you can see, yeah, -3.
Yeah.
So -3 with an extra pawn, it means easily winning. Like there is
Yeah.
no problems at all in the position. And
Right.
see the sudden drop in evaluation, yeah.
Yep.
So with this kind of drop, you have to be very, very careful with your next few moves. And you can see gradually your position is getting, I mean, black is playing normal moves here. Like rook d3 and c5 is like a very normal way of playing this position, like a very
Yeah.
human way of playing this position. But
Yeah.
already the position is drawn.
Mm.
So from -3 to 0 in like few moves, just based on a wrong decision, yeah, that we need to exchange the knights.
Right.
So as the game, I mean, in the game, black eventually won, but it was extremely complicated. Uh, so something like this happened. So I'm keeping the engine on just to show you the mistakes. Yeah. So rook f8 already was a mistake. Here also rook f2 was drawn. Rook f2, rook g2.
Yeah.
So rook f8 was played. King d4, king g5, rook g3, king f4, rook h3.
Wow, it's crazy. He just gave up both of those pawns. Those were his
Yes,
only
that was the
real
only
chances, right?
counterplay. Yeah, yeah, that was the only counterplay and the proper counterplay which white could have used.
Yeah, because what is he gonna? I mean, I'm trying to understand what was his rationale behind giving that up? Because what is he gonna do in this situation? Like there was
Uh,
no logic at all to giving up G3 and H3 like that,
I'm not sure
in
if I
my
like.
opinion. Because there's literally no hope for white after that at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it should be pretty like when you like just let's say that you dissect the position down here. One of the most easiest or most common defending positions is you sacrifice the rook and get a rook versus pawn kind of situation. Yeah.
Yep.
So that should be in White's mind from the beginning. And the second thing White can think of is if he can stop this pawn with the help of the rook and the king. But that
Yeah.
seems highly unlikely, yeah, because black is already on the queen side. And it's
Yeah.
not so easy to bring the king over. Yeah, he will never let you cross over.
Right.
He's always gonna cut you off.
Right.
So
I mean,
White should, yeah.
if G5 and G6 didn't exist, and white king is, on the left side of the rook, right?
Mhm.
Like rook is on the G file, king is already on the F file, then it makes perfect sense to give up H3, G3, and just go straight for the pawn, right?
Mhm.
The C pawn. But in this scenario, I feel like there's almost no logical reason I could think of why white would give those up. Because after giving those up, white has nothing. How is he gonna get the king to stop the pawn? There's like almost no way,
Yeah,
right?
I have no idea.
Like
I
I can't
mean,
even think of any tricks to try. Because
I
black
guess
king is
that is the
already
thing.
so close to the pawn, and white king is cut off.
Yeah, it makes no sense actually. Now I mean, as I said, yeah, when you just you can say when you just analyze the position by breaking it down, it looked so obvious that rook f2, rook g2 has to be played here.
Yep. Maybe he
But
was banking on the e pawn. I don't know. Was that his idea?
he was banking on the e pawn, but if you're banking on the e pawn, you should understand that e pawn is still much closer to the king. Yeah. So you should bank on some other pawns first. If those
Mhm.
don't work, then you can bank on the e pawn.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that was the, I mean, I think that was the only problem of this entire position, that White completely gave up on this rook f to rook g20. I think he didn't spot it, but as you said, yeah, like you spotted it within like 2 minutes, under 2 minutes, I would say, because in your mind, I understood that you don't want to even try anything else other than rook f to rook g2.
Right.
But yes, that is the defensive solution here, that you need to play this and just grab the pawns. Yeah.
Right.
So the moment white entered into this kind of position, here you can see that the e pawn is not as free as the g or the h pawn. Yeah, it's always be
Yeah.
going to be very near to the king.
And white couldn't even take the G6 pawn. That's the other
Yeah, he
thing.
couldn't take. Yeah, he couldn't take. I think the whole game he couldn't take that pawn, because
Yeah.
white's defensive idea was he was somehow trying to check the king and stop it, but that's not going to happen. Yeah.
So um maybe he thought that he would no, even in that scenario though, Doug, doesn't black still have, let's just assume for whatever reason E4 and G6 are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that scenario, doesn't white black still have that Lucina or Philidor idea of bridging with the rook? Can I guess depending on where the white king is, right?
Yeah, I think it will depend a lot on some other factors as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, my biggest question was why White would go into a position where his counterplay is very tricky, yeah? Because see, when you leave black with this pawn, then you also have to understand that just the king and pawn won't be able to compete against the rook, yeah?
Yeah.
Because black can also sacrifice his rook later on and push this pawn.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like you are just somehow slimming down your chances, yeah, of a practical defense.
Mm.
So here, after rook d8, king c4, rook c8. Here, obviously, king b3 was simpler, but black went king d3, and you can see the drop in evaluation. Yeah, like one move from -6 to 0.
What was the rationale behind the D3? Because that just blocks the rook for some reason, right?
Yeah, that's why it was a mistake, actually. I mean, you should play king b3 so that you have the option of c3, c2, and
Right,
rook
and
c3.
put the rook behind. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the moment you block it, you are allowing e5.
Mm.
So all of a sudden e5 came, and now the thing is, so this was the idea. Yeah. Now, when you play here, I have e7, and okay, it's difficult to stop it. And the
So
second and
had he
yeah,
came on the other side, we could have played rook C3 here earlier, basically, right? Stopping this kind of stuff.
if you come here, I think it's much easier. Yeah, because in this place, rook c3, and this promotes with a check.
Oh, that was the whole idea. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that was the tactical part, I think.
Got it.
So king d3 was already a mistake, and I think I don't think c2 was played though. So rook h4 was played in the game, and king f3, which is the correct move, and rook h1. And here, for some reasons, white played rook d8, although I don't see why you will not play e6. I mean, this is your counterplay, right? So you should just use it somehow.
Hmm.
Because now for this, I have a check, and king c2, rook e8. And I'm just going to push e7. The king cannot come out, yeah, of the zone.
Mm. Yeah.
So, but anyway, rook d8 was also not that harmful. Rook d8, king c4, e6, and I think rook e1. And here again, for some reason, white just kept checking, like rook c8. king
But
b3.
this position is a draw.
Yeah, this
Interesting.
position is a draw. Sorry, black played king a3, rook a8, king b2, rook b8, and king c1. And again, highly unexpected move, rook b6. I mean, the reason is why you will not play rook e8. This looks good enough, right? The king cannot come out anymore.
Yeah.
So why not rook e8? But okay, still rook b6, I think, was a draw. So c2. And now I think white blundered with king g4. White had to play something like king f2 in the position.
Oh, so
I think the point was when you play king g4, black's rook
it
is
allows
somehow
the king to come
helping.
out because otherwise he could have given a check on e3 or something or d6. Correct?
I think it's not that. I think the main issue is when I bring the king out and like white will start checking, right? Somewhere. I can leave the pawn. I mean, basically, if you start checking now, I can just leave the pawn away. Yeah? I can just go something like this.
The c1 is defended. Square is defended.
Because c1 is defended, yeah. So that's
So
why it was necessary to kick the rook out of this e1 square first.
and constantly keep harassing it everywhere he went. Like if
If
h1,
he
king
goes to
g2.
e4, yeah, just constantly harass it. So he has to go rook e5. And but now the thing is
But
black
hold on,
can,
wait, hold on, one second. Put it on
yeah.
rook, play rook d1.
Mhm.
So why doesn't that work? Oh, because the king now can't come out.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
yeah.
black tries rook d1, the black king is stuck.
No, rook d1, I will just push
Probably.
e7, yeah.
Oh, and I don't have e1 anymore to
Yeah.
stop the pawn. I see. Okay.
Problems, right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue of this position was that now black doesn't have an improvement plan because, for example, if you play this, I'm just going to start checking, yeah? King c3, rook c6, king b2, rook b6. And let's say king a3, I just come back. With your rook on e1, I could have played c1. That's the problem.
Mhm.
If the rook was on e1, black can just play c1 and win the game.
So black played instead what? What was black's last move? Show me again.
No. It was this position, yeah. So this was the game position. So here white played king g4. So white is now thinking to take this and okay, go for the rook versus pawn, but it's one move short, yeah. He just played king d2 now. Rook d6, king c3,
Wow.
rook c6, king b2, rook b6, and king a3. So you have to play this, and I will play c1 queen and takes, and king g5 and rook e1, yeah.
Yeah, problem. Can you go back again where the evaluation changed from draw
Yep,
to
sure.
loss? When he played which move?
So here,
King g4, right?
yeah,
The idea was that rook had to be kicked from the back rank.
yes,
So that king had to stay trying to defend c1 all the time. Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
yes. So here was the, like you can say, a funny part that all this, I mean, all this happened because of a very wrong decision, yeah, of exchanging the knights from this position. So because black went for this knight c4 idea, you could see how many rook endgame tricks automatically appeared in the position. Yeah. And that's why we say that we shouldn't go into this rook and pawn endgames with one extra pawn unless and until you are very sure about it.
That's the concept
And
here. I have to remember. If you
yes,
have a pawn in game, or sorry, if you have a in game possibility, do not go into the rook in game with an extra pawn unless there's a direct win.
exactly. I mean,
Almost
anything
most
else
cases,
is,
it's better to keep the pieces, basically, right?
yeah, I mean, anything else is much better.
Got it. Yeah, that's understandable. That's actually very interesting for me to. I mean, I know that. I feel like I've heard it before, but I have never consciously thought that earlier in the game when doing trades that, oh crap, maybe I need to not trade bishops right now or something because I know for sure that, it's coming to an end game or it's going to be a rook end game or something.
Hmm.
That is important to know up front.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I mean, that's why I just showed you this example, yeah. How a small thing can change so much in a game.
Yeah.
Especially like when black pretty much did everything. Like you can say that this is a position where the knight is dominated, right?
Yes.
It cannot go anywhere and all squares are taken care of. So there is just nothing to be done here. And this is the moment when the rook cannot be free because of this pawn. King cannot be free because of this knight. So nobody can move, yeah?
Right.
And this was the time when you could have actually just realized your extra pawn advantage by playing c5, c4, and you just bring the king to b4. Yeah? Automatically, you have three pieces and one pawn. White cannot defend with just two pieces. So from here, one mistake, still manageable. Couple of, like here you can see also, yeah, the computer is suggesting to go back knight e5
Yeah.
because exchanging was such a bad idea. And now after you exchange, black played couple of normal moves because it's so obvious that you need to kick the king away from your passed pawn. So rook d3, and you push your passed pawn, yeah? And it's already 0.0. It's already drawn.
I wonder why it became a draw. What should black have done instead of doing those normal moves?
I think here, I mean, probably c5 directly because king g4 is not possible. As we just discussed, yeah, that white's counterplay lies on the fact that he can capture all these kingside pawns, then give up the rook for this pawn and try to push one of these pawns, yeah? So this can only be achieved if we play f6 or if we give up this pawn and this pawn and this pawn. So how not to do that is just not to let white's king go to g4.
But why?
And I also think
Mhm.
one more thing that to win such positions, we always need to understand that the rook behind the pass pawn is much more stronger. Yeah.
Right.
So with c5, you always have options like this. Once you play like rook d3, king g4, c5, and you allow this rook c2 move, now you don't have the option to go behind it. You have to bring
And the
the
king
kings
has to
up.
leave those pawns.
Yes, and if the king moves here, now this pawn becomes like a threat, and you just cannot defend both the pawns. Yeah.
Does white have time to actually take on f7 though?
White did, yeah. White took pawn.
Oh, white did. Okay, that's right.
And here rook f2, rook
Back.
g2 was good enough to make a draw.
So yeah, the rook needed to be on d4 in this position, so he could have played rook c4 basically, right? In this position right now.
Yes,
Like had black's rook been on c4, I think black would have been probably, I guess,
yeah.
winning.
But it's just, I mean, for me, the biggest take or the biggest learning lesson was that not to exchange the knights.
Right.
But it's also very interesting, yeah. Like I think white was around 2450 in this position, and he missed this rook f2, rook g2 idea. It's like some
Maybe
elementary
played
idea,
time
yeah. That
pressure.
no, it was not time pressure.
Or either that, or I was gonna say the second reason maybe that White was already thinking he was losing from a long time ago.
That might be possible, but I think White found. I mean, once the Rook Endgame started, White knew that he has a lot of chances. Yeah, so White took some time and like okay, went for Rook F8, which was already a mistake. But even after that, White had a like multiple places White had drawing chances. But okay, that's always difficult because in Rook Endgames you don't realize sometimes, yeah, when it is a draw and when it's a loss.
Yeah, very hard to predict.
Yeah. Okay, I hope Rafi, this position like was actually lots to learn, yeah, from this one.
Yeah, this was very insightful for sure.
And I was also like pleasantly surprised that almost all your decisions from the beginning till the end was actually correct.
Mm,
Like you started with Rook B1, which was the correct decision. You can see almost all of the moves match with the computer, yeah.
mhm,
So Rook B5, obviously, and just your push pawns. So Rook B3, C5, everything was okay, yeah.
mhm.
So
Nice.
actually, white. I mean, you can say that black actually managed to do everything correct except knight c4.
Yeah.
Everything else, black did absolutely correct. Okay, all right, Rafi. I think then probably for today we'll finish here.
Okay. Cool, man.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I'll probably catch you tomorrow if you're free.
Okay, yeah, I'll hit you up. I should have some time tomorrow. It's Saturday,
Okay.
so plenty of time.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. We'll see you
Okay,
then.
man. Yep.
Yeah.
Talk later.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.